Hi, this is John Fisher, and I chose to review an article by Carolyn Adger on how schools are partnering with community-based organizations to help language minority students and immigrants achieve academic success. School and family-based interventions by themselves cannot provide every student with the necessary support for academic success. For language minority and immigrant children, the difference between the language and culture of the schools and the students, families, and communities can make it hard to achieve success in school. These students can be at risk for failure in academics if school systems don't meet their academic needs. So this study looks at the different types of community-based organizations that partner with schools to meet the needs that the schools alone cannot meet, and shows how they work together and talks a little bit about the work that they do. CBOs are basically groups that come together to help people get social services on health, education, and other basic human services. The partnerships that schools form with CBOs can be non-profit groups. They could be more than just one school. It could be a whole district. It also have groups that come and go for their support, as Rotary clubs coming in to help them as well, and other services. All of the school and community-based organization partnerships had the main goal of addressing student academic achievement, and they all served multiple functions. And I've listed some of the functions here on this slide. In order to identify the elements necessary to support academic success of language minority students, the author surveyed many school CBO partnerships and analyzed the responses to glean 4 essential elements to program success. And in the following slides, we'll go through them one by one. For the programs to be successful, they depend on how much resources they had available over a time period. And the essential resources they identified were staff and funding. And among the partnerships that they visited, one of the things that they found to be a compelling indicator was having strong, committed, and charismatic individuals to play key roles in the staff, and they had a stable set of staff that helped the program maintain their focus over time. In addition to having the really capable staff members working, they also had staff members that shared the client's cultural and linguistic background. For funding, that's crucial to the success of the programs, and many of the programs have maintained funding for over 27 years. And since grants come and go, they've had to be very flexible in forming different partnerships and looking at different ways of getting funds. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. As I mentioned in the previous slide, funds can come and go, and part of the success of school partnerships with CBOs is their flexibility. Schools themselves are rather traditional and rigid, but the partnerships that they form with community-based organizations have to be flexible in order to succeed, because they may have a line of funding through a nonprofit agency that is defunded through legislation, and so they need to adapt and form multiple partnerships in order to survive. And these partnerships are a lot less institutionalized in schools, so they're a little bit more adaptable than schools in meeting the needs of students. In the category of responsiveness to clients, they really talk about 3 main focal points. That's the appropriate design, accessible services, and the use of constituents' abilities. And they found that these elements of responsiveness were the same as found in a study based on the National from the National Coalition of the Advocates for Students. In appropriate design, they talk about it being culturally appropriate because they target language minority students. It's very important that they have linguistic congruence, and that it's culturally appropriate for the students. And so the staff members need to share the client's linguistic and cultural heritage, and so that they can form trusting relationships with those students. In accessibility, they talk about not just physical accessibility, but psychologically. The clients have to feel comfortable in the program setting. Sometimes they might need transportation, or sometimes they might need childcare. So these are the type of accessibility features that they talk to them about, as well as, having native language speakers as well. And then another major factor is to really use and build on the abilities of the clientele that they have. They need people from the community to show that success is possible. And they talk a little bit about sometimes school districts have a sort of a view of immigrant students as, pobrecito, that they just coddle or don't set high expectations for non-traditional students. And so it's very important to build on the success that minority students, or language minority or immigrant students have to offer back from the community. Truly effective partnerships also really place a high value on evaluating their program effectiveness and on improving their services. These are programs that are successful typically have clear goals, and they track their progress over time, and they use their successes to build on that. And many of these people who require on federal funding need to submit data for their clients based on school success or dropout rates or things of that nature, or work to school programs, work placement, or just improvement on standardized tests. So then they use the success to really keep their staff members engaged and tell those stories, kind of using them as an emblem of their success. In conclusion, successful programs and highly regarded programs tend to have the same basic characteristics, including adequate resources, program flexibility, responsive program design, and meaningful program evaluations. These things are useful for people who are thinking about starting up new partnerships and programs, because those could be the starting points for making sure that they're building a good partnership. And the author talks a little bit about, in the conclusion, two main things, that these partnerships and the role that the community-based organizations fulfill a need that schools are just not traditionally designed to address, and that schools are not flexible enough to accommodate. And the other ending point is that this is a good starting place. There's more room for research on improvement. Well, thank you for listening to this lecture, and I hope you have a nice time.